Imagine waking up every day at 5 in the morning to clean an entire mansion. Imagine eating only the cold leftovers they leave in the fridge while other people feast on expensive food. Now imagine that you are only 10 years old, and the people who are supposed to love you are the same ones who turned you into a slave. Seems impossible? Does it look like something out of a movie? But this is the real story of Gabriel, a boy who was adopted by a wealthy family not to be loved, but to be used as propaganda. And what happened when he tried to escape changed everything forever. You won't believe who showed up to save you. If you like exciting stories of overcoming and justice, subscribe to the channel and activate the Tinkerbell so as not to miss any story that will stir your emotions. And leave the like now because you will want to share this story with everyone later. I promise the ending will leave you with goosebumps. Now let's get to the full story. Have you ever seen those perfect families on television? Those who appear in commercials, always smiling, always happy, always ready to pose for the cameras? The Almeida family was exactly like that. At least that's what everyone thought. Eduardo Almeida, a powerful businessman who owns one of the largest construction companies in the state, and his wife Patricia, always impeccable with her designer clothes and expensive jewelry, were the perfect image of success. They had everything. The gigantic mansion in the noblest district of the city, the imported cars, the trips, the lavish parties. But there was something missing, something that tarnished the perfect image. They had no children. Edward had grown up in a poor neighborhood, the son of a bricklayer, and built his empire from scratch, brick by brick, contract by contract. He knew the value of hard work, but somewhere along the way, the poor boy who dreamed of winning turned into a man obsessed with appearances. Patricia came from a traditional but bankrupt family, and saw in her marriage to Edward the chance to regain the status she had lost. They had been trying to have children for years. 3 times Patricia became pregnant. 3 times she lost the baby. After the 3rd time, something in her broke. She didn't want to try anymore. I didn't want to feel that pain anymore. But the social pressure was enormous. At dinners, at parties, at business meetings, questions always came. When are you guys having kids? Do you want to continue the empire? Such a beautiful family should have children. Eduardo realized that investors, partners, even clients looked differently at couples without children. They seemed less reliable, less stable, less complete. That's when they got the idea. They didn't have to have a child. They needed the image of having a child. And so Gabriel, a 10-year-old boy who had lived in the San Jose orphanage since he was 5, was chosen. He was perfect, cute, polite, with those big, expressive eyes that would melt anyone in the pictures. On the day of the adoption, the Almeidas took photographers, journalists, even a TV crew. Gabriel smiled for the cameras, wearing new clothes for the first time, holding Eduardo's hand while Patricia waved. The photos were in all the newspapers. Eduardo's company received praise. Everyone talked about how generous they were, how they had changed that life. But when the cameras went out and the doors of the mansion closed, Patricia's smile disappeared like smoke. Edward didn't even look at Gabriel, and the nightmare began. Gabriel was taken to a tiny room at the back of the house, near the laundry room. The beautiful room in the photos didn't even really exist. It was just scenery. The little room had only an old bed, a broken wardrobe, and a dirty little window that barely let the light in. Patricia made the rules clear. Wake up at 5 in the morning, clean the whole house. Washing dishes, ironing floors, cleaning toilets, washing clothes. Don't make noise, do not watch television. No kidding. And most importantly, don't tell anyone. If you open your mouth, Patricia said with a coldness that froze Gabriel's blood, we will return you to the orphanage. And you know what's going to happen? No one will believe you. They'll think you're ungrateful, lying. No one will ever want you again. You will rot there until you are 18 and be thrown out into the street. Gabriel was 10 years old. He lowered his head and whispered that yes, he understood. And that's what he did for the next 8 months. 8 months waking up before the sun. 8 months working until the fingers are red and sore. 8 months eating cold leftovers while Eduardo and Patricia dined on fancy dishes. Sleeping in that dark little room, feigning smiles when photographers showed up for new marketing campaigns. Gabriel didn't go to school. The Almeidas said he was homeschooled. Bullshit. He didn't study anything. Just cleaned up, tidied up, served. On the coldest nights, when he was alone in his room, Gabriel would take pieces of paper he found in the trash and try to make little planes. It was a vague memory, almost a dream. Someone had taught him that once. Someone who smelled like coffee and laughed out loud. Someone who said paper planes flew where we most wanted to go. He didn't know if it was real memory or something he had made up so he wouldn't feel so alone. The planes were never perfect, always crooked, always falling, but doing them gave Gabriel a few minutes of peace. A few minutes where he was just a child playing, not a slave, until that Saturday came. Saturday when everything changed. Edward and Patricia had invited a couple of friends to lunch, important people, investors who could bring in big contracts. Gabriel was serving the table alone as usual. He held a jar of orange juice with both hands, trying not to spill it. But the jar was heavy, and his hands were shaking with fatigue. He had woken up at 4:30 that day to prepare everything. When he got close to Patricia to serve, his foot tripped on the carpet. The jar slipped. The juice poured onto the expensive towel, oozing down the table, dripping onto Patricia's beige dress. The silence was deafening. Then Patricia exploded. He jumped up, screaming, calling Gabriel useless, a donkey, a problem child. Eduardo joined her, saying that this was why no one had wanted to adopt that boy before, that he was no good. The guests were silent, embarrassed, but no one said anything. No one defended Gabriel. No one asked why a 10-year-old was serving alone. Gabriel stood there with the juice dripping on the floor, with all those looks on him, feeling smaller than ever. And it was at that moment, with tears burning his eyes but refusing to fall, that something inside him broke. It wasn't sadness. It was anger. It was outrage. It was the absolute certainty that he didn't deserve that nobody deserved that. He was going to run. It didn't matter what happened next. Anything was better than staying there. So that same night, when Eduardo and Patricia left for another charity dinner, another appearance party, Gabriel took his small navy blue backpack, put away the few things he had, including the crumpled paper airplane he hid under the mattress, and jumped out of the bedroom window. His heart was beating so hard it felt like it was going to explode. He ran. He ran down the dark street without looking back. I didn't know where I was going. I had no plan. I just knew I needed to be free. He ran until he couldn't take it anymore, until his legs gave out and he fell to his knees on a deserted downtown street. It was almost midnight. It was cold. Gabriel was alone, frightened, trembling. But for the first time in 8 months, he was not cleaning anyone's floors. He was not serving anyone. He was not obeying cruel orders. He was free. Even if that freedom hurt, even if it came with fear and uncertainty, it was better than prison. Gabriel didn't know how long he had been there, cowering in that dark alley, when he heard the noise. It was a deep, deep snore that made the ground vibrate. A motorcycle. He raised his head in fright and saw the headlights approaching. The bike was huge, black, gleaming even in low light, and the man on top of her looked like something out of a movie. Big, very big, leather jacket full of studs, tattoos running up his arms and neck, sunglasses even though it was night, long gray beard swaying in the wind. Gabriel felt his heart race. The man stopped the bike right in front of him. The engine rumbled for a few seconds before being turned off. The silence that followed was almost worse than the noise. The man got off the bike slowly. His heavy boots pounded on the asphalt. He was even bigger up close. Gabriel wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't obey. Then he heard a voice. And this voice, surprisingly, was not threatening. She was gentle, caring, almost gentle. "Hey, kid, are you well? What are you doing here alone at this hour?" Gabriel opened his eyes slowly. The man had crouched down to stand at his height, keeping a respectful distance. I ran away, Gabriel whispered. I can't go back there. The man was quiet for a moment. Then he took the backpack off his back and grabbed a bottle of water and cookies. He reached out to Gabriel without saying anything. Gabriel hesitated, but hunger won. He took the cookies with trembling hands and ate desperately. The man waited patiently. My name is Raphael, he said when Gabriel finished. I won't hurt you. But I need you to tell me what's going on. Where did you run from? Gabriel looked at that tattooed stranger who seemed to have stepped out of his nightmares. And something about him, maybe the tiredness, maybe the despair, maybe the genuine kindness in Raphael's voice, made the floodgates open. He told everything. The orphanage, the adoption that seemed like a dream, the horrible truth behind the doors of the mansion, the Almeidas, the slave labor, the hunger, the fear, the loneliness. Raphael listened to everything in silence. He didn't interrupt once. When Gabriel finished, exhausted, Raphael was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked something unexpected. Do you remember your parents? Your real parents? Gabriel blinked, confused by the change of subject. A little, he said slowly. My father. He smelled like coffee. Laugh a lot. He sang a song, always the same, but I don't remember the lyrics. It had something about flying, and he had a tattoo here. Gabriel pointed to his own forearm. A strange design like wings or a bird, I don't know. He taught me how to make paper airplanes. He said they flew to where we most wanted to go. Raphael's voice failed. He closed his eyes tightly and a tear rolled down his scarred face. When he opened his eyes again, he began to sing softly. Fly, fly, little bird. Take my dreams to heaven. Bring back a little piece of the love that God gave me. The world stopped. Gabriel knew that song. He knew every word, every note, as if it were etched in his DNA. Raphael stopped singing and slowly took off his leather jacket. He turned his arm around, showing his forearm. There, tattooed on tanned skin and marked by time, was the drawing. Two bird wings intertwined, forming a heart. Just like Gabriel remembered. My father had this tattoo, Gabriel whispered, his voice breaking. I know, Raphael said, and now the tears fell freely. I was there when we did it together. Me and my brother Diego. Your father. Gabriel, I'm your uncle. There was an accident 5 years ago. Your father and I were returning from a trip. A truck hit us. Diego died on the spot. I was in a coma for a whole year. When I woke up, they said that you had gone to an orphanage, that there were no relatives. I was unconscious. I couldn't do anything. It took me another year to recover physically. And since then, since I got out of that hospital bed, I've been looking for you. Every day. I built a company, Grupo Silva Investimentos, and used all the resources I had to find you. I found out you were adopted by the Almeidas 8 months ago. And when I started investigating them, I hired the best auditors, private investigators. They discovered that the Almeidas were stealing millions in public works, overbilling contracts, embezzling money. I spent those 8 months gathering evidence against them, waiting for the right moment to get you out of that house. But I never imagined that I would find you like this, running away alone on the street. Gabriel was crying, but they were different tears now. He had a family. There was someone who had been looking for him, who hadn't given up. The crumpled little plane fell out of Gabriel's backpack. Raphael took it with trembling hands, carefully smoothed the paper. You still do them, he said, smiling through his tears. Your father would be proud. But before they could say anything more, voices echoed in the street. He's here! Patricia screamed, hysterical. I saw him! Gabriel, you come back here now! Gabriel's blood froze. Eduardo appeared just behind, red with anger, and with him 2 huge security guards. They turned the corner and saw Gabriel standing there with Raphael. The scene must have seemed like your worst nightmares. A child with a tattooed biker in a dark alley in the middle of the night. "Get away from my son, you thug!" Eduardo yelled. The security guards advanced. "I'll call the police." Patricia took out her cell phone, her hands shaking. "You'll see. They're going to arrest this outlaw. I knew adopting this boy would be a problem. Look what kind of people he hangs out with." Rafael rose slowly, placing himself between Gabriel and the Almeida. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, a human barrier. Eduardo kept shouting, threatening, saying he was going to sue Rafael for everything. Patricia spoke to police, giving her address, saying there had been a kidnapping. In less than 5 minutes, a car arrived. 2 policemen came down. One of them, an older man with a gray mustache, looked at Eduardo and smiled. "Mr. Almeida, are you all right?" The policeman knew Eduardo. It was obvious he knew. Eduardo pointed to Rafael. "This man is trying to kidnap my adopted son. Arrest him now." The policeman looked at Rafael with contempt. "Documents. Now." Rafael remained calm. He took his wallet out of his pocket slowly, showed his documents. "My name is Rafael Silva. I am an entrepreneur, owner of the Silva Investimentos Group, and this boy is my biological nephew." The policeman barely looked. "I don't care who you say you are. The child was legally adopted by the Almeida couple. You have no right over it. Turn on your back. Put your hands on your head." Gabriel saw Rafael being pushed against the wall. He saw the handcuffs being removed from the officer's belt. And something inside him, something that had been broken and trampled for 8 months, something he thought had died, suddenly woke up roaring. "No!" Gabriel's voice came out louder than he thought he was capable of. Everyone stopped and looked at him. "No," he repeated, this time in a trembling but firm voice. "He's not kidnapping me. He's my real uncle. And they," Gabriel pointed to Eduardo and Patricia, "they made me a slave." The policeman gave a sarcastic laugh. "Boy, don't make up stories. Your parents adopted you, gave you a good home. Don't be ungrateful." "I'm not making it up," Gabriel shouted. And then, with trembling hands, he raised the sleeves of his t-shirt. He showed his skinny arms, the bruises, the red marks from scrubbing the floor so hard. He turned his hands away, showing rough, cracked palms, bleeding in places. "Look at me. I am 10 years old and my hands look like a woman's who has worked all her life. They made me wake up at 5 in the morning every day to clean the whole house. They made me eat leftover food while they ate on expensive plates. They locked me in a dark room, and I was told that if I told anyone, no one would believe me." The other, younger man approached. She looked at Gabriel's hands, at his arms, at his thin, pale face. "Sir," he said to the older policeman, "I think we need to listen to the boy." The older policeman hesitated. Edward tried to intervene. "He's troublesome. You have psychological problems. Make up stories to get attention." Rafael finally spoke, his voice calm but charged with authority. "I have proof of kinship. I had a preemptive DNA test 3 months ago through a court order. Here are the documents." He took an envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket. "And I also have evidence that Mr. Eduardo Almeida and Mrs. Patricia Almeida have diverted more than 15 million reais in public works in the last 2 years. I hired the best auditors and private investigators. Overbilling, cold bills, shell companies. Everything documented, everything ready for the prosecutor's office." Edward's face turned white. The older policeman stopped with his handcuffs in the air. Rafael continued. "The investigation has been ongoing for 8 months. My team coordinates everything. And when I found out that they had adopted my nephew, I decided to wait, gather more evidence, make sure that when I got him out of this house, they wouldn't have any power to do anything." The younger policeman took out the documents, quickly read, his eyes widening. "Sir, this is serious, very serious. We need to get everyone to the police station." The older policeman looked at Eduardo, at Patricia, at Gabriel, at Rafael. The reality of the situation finally fell on him. Edward tried one last card. "This is persecution! Conspiracy! You will regret it!" But his voice was no longer strong. Patricia began to cry, realizing that the house of cards had collapsed. The handcuffs that were meant for Raphael ended up on Eduardo's wrists. "You are under arrest for active corruption, embezzlement of public funds, and mistreatment of a minor," the younger police officer said. And as the Almeidas were placed in the car, Gabriel felt Raphael's large hand land gently on his shoulder. "It's over," Raphael whispered. "You are safe now." For the first time in 8 months, Gabriel believed it. The first days in Raphael's house were strange. Not bad, but strange. The house was small, cozy, not at all like the Almeida mansion. Gabriel had his own room, painted light blue, with a soft bed, shelves for books, a large window that let the sun in. It was all he ever wanted. But on the first morning, Gabriel woke up at 5 in the morning. Not because someone ordered it, because your body just woke up at that time. 8 months of routine had programmed this into him like clockwork. He stood up in the dark, confused, his heart racing, waiting to hear Patricia's voice screaming for him to start cleaning. But there was only silence. Silence and the soft sound of Raphael's breathing in the next room. Gabriel sat on the bed, shaking until the sun came up. This has been going on for weeks. Every morning, 5 in the morning, awake, scared, waiting for the punishment that never came, and the nightmares. Every night, Gabriel dreamed that he was back in that mansion. He dreamed of Patricia dragging him back to the dark little room. He dreamed of Edward shouting that he was useless. He dreamed that Raphael had never existed, that everything had been a cruel dream and he was still alone, still cleaning those infinite floors. I woke up sweaty, crying, calling for Raphael. And every single time, Raphael was there. She would go into the room, turn on the soft light, sit on the edge of the bed, and hold Gabriel's hand until he went back to sleep. He never complained. He never looked tired or angry. I was just there. But the worst moment came 3 weeks later. Raphael was in the room reading newspaper when he just asked, without thinking, "Gabriel, can I get a glass of water from the kitchen?" Gabriel froze. His whole body froze. Your brain screamed red alert. It was an order. He had to obey. It had to do. If he did not obey, he would be punished. He would be shouted at. He would be sent away. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. His breathing became rapid, short, irregular. Raphael noticed immediately. He dropped the paper and knelt in front of Gabriel. Hey, look at me. Gabriel, look at me." Gabriel raised his eyes slowly, tears already falling. Raphael held her face gently. "I screwed up, didn't I?" Raphael said, his voice full of regret. "Sorry. I'm really sorry. I didn't think." "Gabriel, you don't have to do anything. You're not my employee. You're not here to serve me. You're a child. You're my nephew. And children do not need to serve anyone. Never again. Do you hear me? Never again." Gabriel broke down crying. And for the first time, he said out loud, "Uncle, I'm afraid you'll send me away. I'm afraid to wake up and you're gone. I'm afraid that I'm not good enough and you realize that you made a mistake." Raphael pulled Gabriel into a tight embrace. "I will never, ever send you away. Do you hear me? Never. You are my blood. You are my family. And family does not abandon." Healing was slow. There was no magic day where everything went well. It was weeks, then months, of baby steps. Gabriel began to sleep late. Nightmares have become less frequent. He learned that when Raphael asked for something, it was just that, a request, not an order. He learned that making mistakes did not mean punishment. He learned to be a child again, going to school, making friends, complaining about homework, playing video games, eating bullshit. Normal stuff. Things every child should be able to do. And then, 6 months after that night in the alley, it happened. They were watching a silly comedy movie in the living room, eating popcorn. Something funny happened on the screen, and Gabriel laughed. It wasn't a contained giggle. It was a loud, genuine, spontaneous laugh. The kind of laughter that comes from the bottom of the belly and does not ask permission to leave. Raphael stopped eating popcorn and looked at Gabriel as if he was seeing a miracle. Gabriel noticed and stopped, becoming embarrassed. "I'm sorry, me." "No," Raphael interrupted, eyes shining. "He can't stop laughing. He never stops laughing." The following weekend, Raphael took Gabriel to a park. They sat on a wooden bench under a large tree. Raphael took a clean piece of paper out of his pocket and began to fold it. Gabriel watched in fascination as Raphael's large, calloused hands turned the paper into a perfect little plane. "His father taught me when we were kids," Raphael explained. "And now, I teach you law." They spent the afternoon making paper airplanes, Raphael showing, Gabriel trying, erring, trying again. Until finally, Gabriel made a perfect one. He held the plane in his hand and looked at Raphael. "Where will he fly?" Raphael smiled. "Wherever you want." Gabriel thought for a moment. Then he threw the little plane into the sky. He glided beautifully, caught a wind current, and flew further than they expected. The two stood there, uncle and nephew, watching the little plane disappear into the blue horizon. Gabriel finally understood. Real family doesn't find you when you're well. Real family looks for you in the dark and doesn't stop until they bring you back home.